I spoke with Oliver Brooks, whose parents both work for the NHS. Hi, Oliver. Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
My name's Oliver. I'm 16, currently in year 11, and I was supposed to take my GCSE exams this year. And my dad is a NHS gastroenterologist consultant, and my mum is an obstetrics consultant.
How did things change for you and your family after the pandemic arrived in the UK?
So initially, GCSEs were cancelled for me, which was really odd because all the work I had done and that was going to be done, all the build-up and revision, was swept aside. This was really, really mixed for me because suddenly I had all this free time, but also I wouldn't get the satisfaction of finishing those exams. Then my school closed, which completely changed my typical schedule, and it took some getting used to. Before the pandemic, I never really helped out around the house. I didn't really do any chores, but now that my parents are busier and I've got more free time, I'm helping out a lot more, so cleaning and washing up and stuff. And then as a family, we used to go out a lot for meals and particularly breakfast, and we did a lot of meeting up with people, friends and stuff there. Unfortunately, we can't do that anymore, but on the weekends when my parents are working, we try to recreate that.
And what do you find most challenging about life during the pandemic?
It's been really hard to make sense of it all to begin with. It didn't really seem real, like it was happening. And then once everything had sunk in, it was a general disappointment, missing out on the last day of school, missing out on music concerts and stuff like that, and missing out on meeting up with friends. It felt like I was missing out on so much, particularly after GCSEs and in this year. And then there was the worry for my parents that they could catch something and become seriously ill. And this was worsened by the situation concerning the PPE. But, my parents have also given me that insight that I think a lot of people don't really get, and given me a more realistic view, which has helped me to ground myself. And then the lack of motivation and challenge after school was cancelled and exams were stopped. It felt like my immediate goals had just been removed. So I decided I need to do something myself. So I enrolled in a virtual work experience course and started doing some daily tasks and goals.
Great. And you mentioned that both of your parents work for the NHS. How has the pandemic affected them from what you saw?
So both my parents are resilient and put on a strong face. They both seem to cope, but they're busier. They were both initially more tired and busier. However, they've got support from their colleagues and their own resilience that seems to have gotten used to the situation a bit more. For example, my mum has a national maternity WhatsApp group, which has hit the limit on participants, which is ridiculous to think about. There's been a fair share of struggles and stuff. There's a large number of teleconferences almost every day now. And it's just navigating around the house and checking whether people are on mute and stuff. The lack of PPE has also been very prevalent in our house. My mum's bought her own scrubs and goggles. It just seems so surreal, and it's created a difficult conundrum for my parents, which I think a lot of healthcare workers are facing, wanting to help patients and wanting to treat people, but not excessively increasing their own risk.
And how has the pandemic changed the way you think about your future?
I think in the near future, I'd like to do all the things we normally do, get a haircut, go to a cafe, stuff like that. And I think I'd appreciate those kind of luxuries more now. They seem so passing in the moment, but they're now so much more valuable, I think. And then I think going back to school and working on my A-levels, and at some point completing work experience and just being more grateful for the whole experience of being able to learn face-to-face. And then eventually I think I'd like to become a doctor, similar to my parents. I think my career goal has been strengthened by the pandemic, and it's really highlighted to me how important healthcare is and how important and rewarding a career is.
And looking more broadly at the wider society, what do you hope to see in the post-pandemic world?
I really hope to see a continuation of the spirit and kindness that has grown and really been shown during this period. It's been really nice to see communities come together, and it would be amazing to see that kindness persist. Although realistically it's bound to fade, it'd be nice to see it last longer. I also hope the gratitude for key workers, not just healthcare workers, and the appreciation of their roles continues. And we come out of the pandemic more grateful for the small things in life, such as haircuts. And I think the pandemic has shown how important it is that we keep healthy and connected with our communities and families. And I hope this continues to be a priority, not just for my local community.
Thank you, Oliver.